This is Henry Frederick again here in Oak Hill, Florida, at the City Commission Chambers. And I'm with Jupp, Norhaussen.
That's correct. Yep.
Candidate for seat
Number 3.
seat number 3
Here in Oak Hill.
here in Oak Hill, and first time running for office.
Yeah.
And your opponent or opponents?
Kathy Biddle.
And she's an incumbent.
Yes.
Mrs. Biddle had a medical issue, and I asked her husband to stand in as a proxy because I wanted to make sure that both sides, and then you had a conflict,
Yeah.
and you were offered the opportunity tonight, and you did.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I'm dancing on several weddings.
So, why are you interested in running for public office? What's your number one thought process for that?
Well, it goes back 35 years when I came to this country, and as an immigrant from Germany, I went through all the legal procedures, became a green card holder, then got naturalized about 20 years ago, and
Where were you in Germany? West Germany at the time, or
at that time it was still West Germany.
it was still
yes.
a divided country?
Yeah, area of Cologne, about 120 miles north of Frankfurt. And I work as an electronic engineer, and I worked for 17 years for a German company. Company eventually got sold, and I left the company and started my own engineering firm. Retired about a year ago, and whatever I have, I own this country, and I think it's time for me to give back. That's
Now-
my motivation.
You said you've lived here how long now?
35 years in the States.
What has changed the most in a small community like Oak Hill from when you first got here to now? What has been the biggest change that you've seen that you want to either enhance, make better, or do you think something needs to change?
Well, I feel that economical opportunities are lacking maybe more in Oak Hill than in other areas. I used to live up north, that's Port Orange. And-
Oh, yes, the metropolis. I lived there one time too, and then New Smyrna.
Yeah. Things are different there, but it seems that time came to a stop the moment you cross through Edgewater. And I'm determined to make it better.
Ms. Norhaussen, candidate Norhaussen, there was a discussion last night, not only in the city commission forum with Mrs. Biddle's husband, Gary Biddle, but with the candidates for county council, District 3, which is Southeast Volusia. One of the things that came up was the issue of a spaceport, a private provider, aerospace, at the Shiloh Preserve, which I guess is on the southern tip of Oak Hill, straddling Brevard. Where do you stand on that? Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, I'm not privy to all the gruesome details, but from what I understand is that the Space Center is federal land and SpaceX is looking for private land. I'm not sure if that's a wise decision for SpaceX or for anyone else to be economical and prudent with existing buildings. I don't see why SpaceX could not use what's there.
I know from my own, having followed it, for example, incumbent District 3 County Councilwoman Deb Dennis came to Oak Hill last year, early on, to pitch the benefits economically. I felt bad for her because she got beat up verbally. Fishermen were very adamant, you're going to destroy our habitat, take away our livelihoods. It is kind of a risky thing, no?
Is it riskier than what we have now?
That's true. I don't know, you tell me.
Well, I don't think so. I mean, we had space shuttles exploding and...
Yeah, but are they going to explode over Oak Hill or over the ocean?
I think that the trajectory of the rocket would be over the ocean anyway. I mean, just if you look at the turning of the Earth, it looks to us like it's going up straight, but in reality, the Earth moves away from it. So I don't think if anything explodes, it's over. Okay.
The cool thing, though, there's a search engine called YouTube, and I go on it a lot because of the internet. And the funny thing about it is they have videos of things like rockets that explode and never even leave the ground. We have an environmental attorney, very prominent. I believe at one point he was a county council member, Clay Henderson, and he's like, no, can't do that here. And then he brought up another issue that I thought was kind of interesting, where he told the county council that Volusia County's one of Volusia County's infamous claims to fame now, which he says is shameful, is the fact that the county has 93,000 septic systems for a county of 465,000 people. And we lead the state of Florida in that.
Which are
Oak Hill-
only the
Oak Hill-
Steel Lagoon.
Right, right, and then they wonder, well, we're gonna decide to kind of clean up. And what are they gonna do to actually clean it up? I didn't go in there and actually clean it up, but besides the park. But with that said, are you in favor of trying to push, and what would you do beyond the dais here to get your county and maybe even state officials to maybe give you a CRA or give you some kind of help to get water and sewer?
Let's go back to one point
Sure.
that I don't think we were clear about. We were talking about exploding rockets, and someone implied that they would explode over Oak Hill. Whatever we had launched before was okay, and now suddenly it's not okay.
But
I don't
let me
see-
ask a question of the audience. Mike, you're kind of like an expert, an unofficial expert on, you did a lot of work. When I remember I had a forum that I hosted here on Shiloh and what would be the trade-off? What would Oak Hill get economically if they were to buy into it? Wasn't there some kind of data on how far away Cape Canaveral is? And I don't believe there's ever been an incident over land.
The launch sites are about 20 miles from here. Shiloh would be 3. The trajectory is directly over the ocean. It's to the east. There's also $1.75 billion worth of insurance on every launch.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
So you got 1.7
Only
billion dollars.
$1.75 billion on
And,
each launch.
I guess if there were a bunch of dead birds that disappeared on the island, that 1.7 billion would take care of the habitat maybe for a little while. With that said, so are you in favor of the rocket or are you against it?
I'm in favor of economical development. I don't think that even SpaceX has all the I's dotted and all the T's crossed. So I think it's premature to say what it would do unless they have a plan. That
Well, my
will
understanding
present us.
is that SpaceX has already committed to Texas, and there's another firm that's looking possibly here. It changes, I guess.
Well, let's see what
Yeah.
they bring.
Any other, one other issue that came up, and it's kind of an ongoing evolution, is small town, you know, people think of Andy Griffith's show, and
And there's nothing wrong with it.
no, and Barney, the goofball deputy, and Andy Taylor's always bailing him out of something. But Oak Hill's a small, very close-knit community. Had a police department for a long time, and it kind of fell apart, and everybody seems to be happy with the sheriff. Have you heard pretty similar things?
Well, we kind of had a sheriff department even before. I mean, 9 to 5 was the police, and after that it was sheriff anyway, so.
Right, well, there's that mutual aid stuff.
Yeah.
I believe that if anybody in the audience can clarify, maybe you, Mr. Commissioner Engel, you had 24-hour police presence in Oak Hill, right? Or
Yes,
was there
sir,
a turnoff
that's
at
correct.
some point?
We had shifts that ran 24/7,
You had 12 hours on, 12 hours off, right? Something like that?
and we actually had overlapping where we'd have, in some instances, 2 officers on. You have to remember that we also had police officers that were, residents that wanted to keep their, yes, the answer is yes.
Okay, thank you. I learned from Con Evans of the city clerk administrator that last year there was an increase of 15,000 for sheriff's services, and I know Sheriff Johnson's top cop in Volusia County, unlike my other good friend, Mike Chip in Daytona. But now there's another increase projected for the new fiscal year, October 1st, of another 13,000. Are you concerned that these costs are going to climb, that
I don't know if it is because they have more manpower, or is it
No,
just,
it's,
just an increase in operating expense?
well, I mean, the county council gave a raise to everybody just before the election last year, and, you know, the personnel service is expensive in law enforcement, you know, a lot of equipment. Are you
Well,
pretty comfortable with what you have at this point?
talking to friends and fellow citizens, they all seem to be very happy with the sheriff's department, and I would say that with their resources, it would be very difficult for us to compete. If we would have the same kind, the same quality police department, it would cost much more than what we're spending now.
Let me wrap this up with one more question. Again, I'll follow up with you and Commissioner Biddle. at some point in the future in one-on-one interviews to give you more in depth of what each other's platforms are. But
Well, I must apologize for not being addressed with the
oh, no, no,
occasion,
you
but
came,
I
you
was
came at the
just
last minute, and I wanted to make sure your point of view was heard, because I felt bad that, you know, you got kind of squeezed out with short notice on the thing here, but it's not easy putting multiple races together in that kind of time, but I have a phrase that I learned from a famous pro wrestler, Ric Flair. To be the man, you've got to beat the man. Why should Oak Hill, not we, why should Oak Hill elect you as the challenger over Kathy Biddle, a two-term incumbent?
fresh view from a different angle. As an engineer, I'm used to looking at facts and have a straight line thinking, and I don't know if Mrs. Biddle is the same, but that's what I can say about me,
What would you say her biggest strength is? Do you know?
being an incumbent,
What's your biggest strength?
being new.
Okay, well, on that note, for you, Norhaussen,
Yes.
this is Henry Frederick of Headline Surfer, and good luck with the campaign, and please stay in touch, and whatever we can do to help, we appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.